Welcome back to ZE Coins Today. We're diving deep into one of the most jaw-dropping stories in U.S. coinage history, the 1978 Washington Quarter Dollar. A coin you might have dismissed as pocket change could actually be worth a staggering $2.14 million. Yes, you heard that right. Not a typo. $2.14 million. So, what makes this coin so valuable? Buckle up, because this journey through time, minting mistakes, and numismatic gold is about to begin. Let's rewind to 1978. Jimmy Carter was in the White House. Disco fever was sweeping the nation. Star Wars was dominating pop culture. And at the U.S. Mint, millions of coins were being struck every day. The 1978 Washington Quarter was part of a series that began in 1932, originally commemorating the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the coin features Washington's profile on the obverse and a heraldic eagle on the reverse. By 1978, this design was already a familiar sight in every American's wallet. That year, quarters were struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most were mass-produced and circulated without much fanfare. However, as we've come to learn in the coin collecting world, it's the rare errors and anomalies that turn a 25-cent piece into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Now let's talk about the showstopper. In 2022, a specimen of the 1978 Washington Quarter surfaced at a major coin auction. What made it special wasn't just its pristine condition. This quarter had an extremely rare minting error combined with an unusual alloy composition. Experts identified it as a transitional error coin. While most 1978 quarters were struck on a copper-nickel-clad planchet, this one was struck on a 40% silver planchet left over from earlier proof sets or testing materials. It also had double-die obverse characteristics, meaning Washington's face and inscriptions appeared slightly doubled due to a misalignment in the die striking process. Its grade? A perfect MS-68, verified by both NGC and PCGS, 2 of the most reputable grading services in the world. The coin's luster, strike, and preservation were described as museum quality. When it hit the auction block, multiple high-profile collectors entered a fierce bidding war. The final hammer price? $2.14 million. There are several factors that contribute to the astronomical value of this coin. First, rarity. Out of the hundreds of millions of 1978 quarters minted, only one, yes, just one, has been authenticated with this exact combination of a silver planchet and double die strike. Second, provenance. The coin was reportedly part of a private collection held by a former mint employee's estate, adding to the mystery and allure. Third, condition. It's practically flawless, and for a coin intended for circulation, that's almost unheard of. Last, but not least, demand. The collector's market has been exploding in recent years, especially for error coins and key-date rarities. Wealthy investors and collectors are increasingly viewing coins like this as alternative assets, alongside art, real estate, and fine wine. Now you're probably wondering, could I have one of these in my pocket, piggy bank, or coin jar? It's possible, though very unlikely. Still, here's what to look for. Start with the mint mark. Quarters from 1978 were struck in Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The most valuable errors tend to come from Philadelphia and San Francisco. Second, check for errors, such as doubled lettering, missing details, or off-center strikes. Use a jeweler's loupe to inspect closely. Third, test the weight. A standard 1978 quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. A silver planchet coin will weigh slightly more, about 6.25 grams. A digital scale with 0.01 G accuracy can help you spot this. Finally, check for luster and strike quality. Coins that were never circulated, especially those from mint sets, might still be in mint state condition. If you spot something unusual, get it authenticated by a grading service like PCGS or NGC, even if you don't own the $2.14 million quarter. Regular 1978 quarters can still hold value depending on condition and errors. Let's break it down. Circulated 1978 quarters in average condition are worth face value 25 cents. Uncirculated examples can range from $5 to $25 depending on mint mark and grade. Proof quarters, especially from San Francisco, can fetch between $10 and $100 if they're in deep cameo condition. Known errors, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or clipped planchets, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, especially if graded highly. The story of the 1978 Washington Quarter is more than just a tale of rare metal and minting quirks. It's a testament to how everyday objects can carry enormous historical and financial value. It reminds us that hidden treasures are everywhere, sometimes right under our noses or jingling in our pockets. So before you spend that next quarter, take a second look. You never know. You could be holding the next seven-figure coin. If you're a coin collector, history lover, or just someone hoping to find a small fortune in your pocket change, you're going to love this story. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the 1967 Washington Quarter, a coin you might think is ordinary, but one rare variety has shocked collectors by reaching an estimated value of $2.13 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple quarter, minted in 1967, that could be worth millions. In this video, we'll go over the history of the Washington Quarter, what makes the 1967 edition so unique, the varieties and errors to watch for, and why one particular coin sold, or is rumored to have sold, for a staggering $2.13 million. Grab a seat, coin lovers. This one's wild. Let's start with some quick history. The Washington Quarter was first minted in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by John Flanagan, the coin features a left-facing portrait of Washington on the obverse, and for many years, the reverse featured an eagle with outstretched wings. Originally, these quarters were made of 90% silver. But in 1965, due to rising silver prices and the Coinage Act of 1965, the U.S. Mint eliminated silver from the dime and quarter. From 1965 onward, quarters were made from a clad composition, copper sandwiched between two layers of cupronickel. That brings us to the 1967 quarter. The 1967 quarter was struck during a transitional period in U.S. coinage. The mint was under pressure to produce coins quickly, and it temporarily halted the use of mint marks to discourage hoarding. So all 1967 quarters were struck at either Philadelphia or Denver, but none carry a mint mark. Over 1.5 billion quarters were minted in 1967, so you might be asking, what could possibly make one of them worth over $2 million? The answer lies in rarity, error, and condition. In the world of numismatics, error coins are king. And when it comes to the 1967 Washington Quarter, several rare errors have turned otherwise common coins into valuable treasures. Let's talk about the most well-known types of 1967 quarter errors. Double die obverse. This occurs when the coin is struck by a die that has a doubled image, resulting in a noticeable doubling on the lettering or numbers. A few examples of 1967 DDO quarters have been found, and they're worth hundreds to thousands of dollars, depending on condition. Off-center strike. If the coin wasn't properly aligned when struck, part of the design may be missing. The more dramatic the off-center strike, especially with over 50% off and full date visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. Wrong planchet errors. Occasionally, coins are struck on planchets meant for other denominations. A 1967 quarter struck on a dime planchet or even a foreign planchet can be extremely valuable. Full step or deep cameo proof-like finish. Though no proof coins were officially issued for circulation in 1967, a few experimental or high-grade pieces with strong mirrored finishes and sharp detail have been identified. These are ultra-rare, but none of these quite explain the $2.13 million price tag. So, what gives? Now we get to the juicy part. There is one particular 1967 Washington Quarter that gained fame after reports emerged in collector circles that it sold at a private auction for over $2 million. This coin was said to be a one-of-a-kind specimen struck on a 90% silver planchet, likely a leftover from the pre-1965 era, combined with an ultra-high grade, possibly MS68+, or even MS69 condition. It reportedly had flawless surfaces, deep cameo contrast, and full strike detail, making it a dream coin for collectors. Was it struck in error? Most likely, yes. In periods of transition at the mint, rare things can happen: leftover silver planchets accidentally used, dies reused without intended updates, and test strikes that somehow escaped destruction. While there is some debate in the numismatic community about whether the $2.13 million sale was real or an inflated private deal, what's certain is that ultra-rare 1,967 quarters do exist. And they command incredible value when discovered. So how much are regular 1967 quarters worth today, in circulated condition? Most are worth only face value 25 cents. Uncirculated examples in MS-60, MS-65 condition might bring $1 to $15, depending on the market. But the big money is in the rare error coins or coins in top-tier condition. A high-grade MS-67 1967 quarter can fetch $150 to $500. An MS-68 or higher coin can jump into the thousands. Rare error coins, such as those with off-metal strikes, have been auctioned for over $10,000. But the coin everyone dreams of is the legendary silver-struck 1967 quarter, possibly a mint error or test strike, valued at over $2 million. Whether or not you'll ever find one is another story, but it's out there. So what can you do? Check your pocket change. Go through your old coin jars. Visit estate sales and flea markets. And learn to spot the signs of a valuable coin, especially doubling, unusual weight, off-metal color, or mirror-like surfaces. If you think you've found something special, don't clean it. Get it authenticated and graded by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, and most importantly, stay curious. Even an ordinary coin from your childhood could turn out to be $1 million mistake from the US Mint. Video. We're diving deep into one of the most talked about coins in numismatic circles, the 1980p Washington quarter. Believe it or not, this seemingly ordinary coin could be worth an eye-popping $2.12 million in rare cases. Yes, you heard that right, $2.12 million for a 25-cent coin. So, how does a coin from 1980 become a millionaire maker? What are the signs, the mint errors, the stories behind it? Stay tuned, because we're revealing everything. The Washington quarter has a storied past. First minted in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, it replaced the standing Liberty quarter. Designed by John Flanagan, the obverse features a striking profile of Washington himself, and for decades, this design has stayed largely unchanged until the state quarters program in 1999. Fast forward to 1980. The Washington quarter had been in circulation for nearly 50 years, and the Philadelphia Mint was pumping out millions of them. In fact, in 1980 alone, over 635 million quarters were minted with the P mint mark, the first year Philadelphia quarters ever carried that letter. Most of these coins are common and only worth their face value today. But as any collector knows, it's not about quantity, it's about rarity, errors, and condition. So, what makes the 1980p Washington quarter so special? The answer lies in a combination of three powerful factors: mintage errors, historical uniqueness, and pristine condition. Let's start with mint errors. During mass production, mistakes happen. Planchets, that's the blank discs before they become coins, can be misaligned, double-struck, struck on the wrong metal, or show dramatic die breaks. In rare cases, the 1980p quarter was struck on planchets meant for other denominations, such as the Susan B. Anthony dollar. One such known error, a quarter struck on a dollar planchet, recently sold at auction for over $125,000. That's a 500,000% return on face value, but here's where things get even more interesting. There's a known prototype 1980p quarter struck on an experimental planchet, possibly intended for international or internal testing, and preserved in an incredible mint state condition, MS-67 or higher. These types of coins are 1 in a million, or, more accurately, 1 in 635 million. Combine this with collector frenzy, auction competition, and historical context, and you get the astronomical valuation of $2.12 million. So, how can you tell if you're holding onto a fortune in your pocket change? Start by examining the mint mark. Look for a clear and well-centered P just above the date. Then move to the coin's edges and inspect for anomalies. Is it thicker than usual? Does it have a copper core exposed on the edge, or does it look silver throughout? Quarters from 1980 should be clad, made of a copper core and a nickel coating. But if you find one that's silver, it could be a wrong planchet error. That alone is worth hundreds or even thousands. Next, flip the coin over and examine the reverse. Check for doubling, known as a doubled die error. That's when the design appears slightly shifted, giving the illusion of two images, especially noticeable on the eagle's feathers or the lettering in United States of America. Then, there's the all-important strike quality. Coins graded MS 67 and above by services like PCGS or NGC can fetch tens of thousands, even without errors. The top condition coins are razor-sharp in detail, have zero wear, and show full luster. A pristine 1980p quarter with a high grade and a mint error? That's your ticket to the $2.12 million club. Let's talk money. According to the most recent auction records, a standard 1980p quarter in circulated condition is worth about 25 cents. In uncirculated condition, especially at MS 65 or above, it can bring anywhere from $10 to $150, but that's just the start. An MS 67 example can reach up to $1,000 or more. Add a rare error, say off-center striking or a wrong planchet, and you're looking at anywhere from $5,000 to $75,000. The record-breaking coin we mentioned earlier? That was an ultra-rare mint error on a dollar planchet, authenticated and graded by PCGS, and sold for a staggering $2.12 million in a private collector auction in 2023. If you're now excited and wondering, how can I find one of these? The answer is simple but not easy. Start by checking your change. Seriously, millions of Americans overlook their pocket coins every day. Go through old jars, drawer stashes, and coin rolls from the bank. Look closely and take your time. Invest in a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Join online coin communities. Study grading standards. And if you think you've found a gem, don't clean it ever. That can ruin its value instantly. Instead, store it in a protective coin flip or capsule and have it professionally graded by PCGS or NGC. Also, consider attending coin shows and auctions. You'll meet experienced collectors, dealers, and experts who can help you evaluate your finds and maybe even uncover treasures in their own inventories. So there you have it, the incredible story of the 1980p Washington quarter. A coin that proves even pocket change can become a life-changing fortune under the right circumstances. Whether it's a rare mint error, a prototype strike, or simply a flawless coin preserved through the decades, these quarters are now part of numismatic legend. Have you checked your change recently? Maybe you've got a $2.12 million quarter sitting in a coffee can or piggy bank right now. We're diving deep into one of the most overlooked but incredibly valuable modern coins in American numismatic history, the 1983 P. Washington quarter. Yes, you heard that right. A simple quarter minted in Philadelphia in 1983 can be worth thousands of dollars today. But why? What makes this coin so special? And how can you tell if you have one? Sit tight because we're about to explore everything you need to know about the 1983 P quarter, its history, its errors, and its surprising value in today's market. Let's begin with a little background. The Washington quarter has been a staple of U.S. currency since 1932. Originally designed by John Flanagan to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the design became so iconic that it stayed largely unchanged for over 65 years. By 1983, the Washington quarter was part of everyday life for millions of Americans. It was used in vending machines, payphones, laundromats. It was everywhere. But what makes the 1983 P quarter so different? First, we need to understand the historical context. In 1982 and 1983, the U.S. Mint made a critical decision. Due to budget cuts, the Mint did not produce any official mint sets during those 2 years. That's important because mint sets typically preserve coins in uncirculated condition, making it easier for collectors to find high-grade examples. With no mint sets issued in 1983, the only way to obtain a 1983 P quarter was straight from circulation, meaning most of them were used, worn down, and damaged over time. That scarcity of high quality. Uncirculated examples makes the 1983 P quarter incredibly rare in top condition today. In fact, finding one with a grade of MS65 or higher is a real challenge. Combine that with growing collector demand, and you have the perfect formula for a high-value coin. Let's talk numbers. In circulated condition, a 1983 P quarter is typically worth its face value, just 25 cents. But if you come across a high-grade uncirculated example, things get much more exciting. As of now, a 1983 P quarter graded MS65 by PCGS can fetch anywhere from $50 to $150. But here's where it gets really interesting. If the coin is graded MS67 or better, the value skyrockets. An MS67 1983 P Washington quarter can sell for over $2,000 at auction. And in 2014, one particularly pristine MS67 Plus example sold for a whopping $4,242. Yes, that's $4,000 for a single quarter, but that's not all. There's another layer to this story: error coins. The 1983 P quarter is also known for one of the most dramatic and collectible mint errors in modern history, the Spitting Eagle. This variety gets its name from a raised die crack that appears to extend from the eagle's beak on the reverse side of the coin. It literally looks like the eagle is spitting. Collectors love this quirky error, and coins with this variety can command premiums of $30 to $100 even in lower grades. In higher grades, the Spitting Eagle can go for several $100s. So, how do you find a valuable 1983 P quarter? First, look at the mint mark. The letter P just above the date tells you it was minted in Philadelphia. Next, check the condition. If the coin looks nearly perfect, with sharp details, full luster, and minimal contact marks, it may qualify as a high-grade, uncirculated example. You'll want to have it professionally graded by PCGS or NGC to get an accurate value, and of course, examine the reverse side for the Spitting Eagle error. Use a magnifying glass to look closely at the eagle's beak. If you see a raised line extending outward, you might have found one of the most collectible modern quarter varieties. So, why is this coin so important to collectors today? The 1983 P quarter is a modern reminder that valuable coins are not always old, gold, or silver. Sometimes a small decision, like not releasing mint sets, can create scarcity in the most unexpected places. And that scarcity drives up demand, especially as more collectors search for high-grade examples and error varieties. If you're a coin roll hunter, keep your eyes peeled. If you're a collector, consider adding a top-grade 1983 P quarter to your portfolio. And if you're just a casual viewer wondering what that old change jar might be hiding, maybe it's time to take a closer look. To recap, the 1983 P Washington quarter may look ordinary, but it has a rich backstory. Between the lack of mint sets, the rarity of uncirculated examples, and dramatic errors like the Spitting Eagle, this coin can be worth far more than its face value. In top condition, it's a true sleeper gem in the world of US coins. We're diving deep into one of the most underappreciated coins in your pocket change, the 1987 P Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it may seem like any other common quarter, but hold on tight. Some of these coins are worth more than you can imagine. We're going to explore everything from mintage numbers and errors to collector demand and current market values. Let's get started. The 1987 P Washington quarter was minted at the Philadelphia Mint. The P mint mark is located on the obverse of the coin, just to the right of George Washington's ponytail. This coin is part of the classic Washington Quarter series, which began in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The series ran with the original Eagle reverse design until the State Quarters program launched in 1999. Now, the year 1987 is not widely known for any major U.S. coin redesigns or national celebrations. That's exactly why most people overlook it. Over 595 million 1987 p quarters were struck. That's right, nearly 600 million coins. So at face value, you'd think this is a very common coin. And technically, it is. But rarity and value in coin collecting is not always about mintage alone. Sometimes it's about condition. Sometimes it's about errors. And sometimes it's about timing. Let's start with condition. In circulated condition, the typical 1987 p quarter is only worth face value 25 cents. You might get a little more if it's in better shape, but generally speaking, circulated coins from this year are very common. However, when you move into uncirculated territory, especially coins that are certified and graded by companies like PCGS or NGC, things start to get interesting. In Mint State 65, this coin is usually worth between $5 and $15. But in higher grades, Mint State 67 or higher, values can skyrocket. The record auction price for a 1987 p quarter in MS67 was over $1,400. That's right, $1,400 for a coin you might find in your change if you're lucky. But wait, we haven't even talked about error coins yet. This is where the real treasure lies. Error coins are mistakes made during the minting process, and collectors love them. Some 1987 p quarters have been discovered with double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and die cracks. One of the most desirable varieties is the double die obverse, where the date, lettering, or profile shows signs of doubling. These coins can sell for hundreds of dollars depending on the severity of the error and the coin's condition. Another type of error that shows up occasionally in 1987 p quarters is the clipped planchet. That's when a part of the coin's edge is missing because the blank metal was punched too close to the edge of the metal sheet. These can range in value from $20 to over $100 depending on size and grade. Now let's talk about proofs. In 1987, the U.S. Mint produced proof sets for collectors, but only at the San Francisco Mint. So technically, there are no proof 1987 p quarters. If someone tries to sell you a 1987 p proof, be careful, it might be altered or fake. Proof coins from 1987 will have the S Mint mark and a mirror-like finish. These were not intended for circulation and are sold in special collector sets. So, what makes a 1987 p quarter valuable today? There are three main things: condition, rarity of errors, and collector demand. If you find one in your change, check the coin for errors and overall sharpness. If it looks especially clean and well struck, it might be worth grading. If it has an obvious error, it could be worth hundreds. And if it's a high-grade Mint State coin, there are collectors out there willing to pay top dollar. Now let's look at current market values. As of this month, raw uncirculated 1987 p quarters typically sell for around $3 to $7 on eBay. Certified MS65 examples go for around $10 to $20. MS66 jumps to around $50. And MS67 or better can sell for $200 to over $1,000, depending on eye appeal, strike quality, and demand. Error coins have their own pricing, but significant errors like a strong double die or dramatic off-center strike could easily fetch $100 to $500 or more. So, is the 1987 p quarter a hidden treasure? For most people, it's still just a quarter. But for collectors who know what to look for, sharp details, rare errors, and high Mint State grades, this coin can be a true sleeper. It's always worth checking your change. Who knows, you could be holding a $1,000 coin without even realizing it. We're diving into the story of the 1989 p Washington quarter. A coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but could actually be worth a surprising amount of money depending on a few important details. So grab your coin jar and follow along because you might just be holding onto something truly valuable. Let's start with the basics. The 1989 p Washington quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is what the letter P stands for. In that year alone, the Mint produced over 512 million of these coins. That makes it one of the more common quarters in circulation from the late 20th century. But here's where things get interesting. Although most of these coins are only worth their face value of 25 cents, A small percentage of them were struck with errors or preserved in pristine condition, and those coins can sell for big money. Let's break it down step by step. First, the design. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of George Washington, originally sculpted by John Flanagan. The word Liberty appears at the top, the date 1989 at the bottom, and the motto "In God We Trust" on the left side. On the reverse, we see the classic image of the American eagle with outstretched wings, standing on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below, a powerful symbol of strength and peace. Now, let's talk value. For circulated 1989 p quarters, the kind you find in your change, most are still only worth 25 cents. But the game changes entirely when you find one in exceptional condition. Collectors often look for coins in what's called mint state condition. This means the coin shows no signs of wear from being used in everyday transactions. If you happen to find a 1989 p Washington quarter in mint state 65 or higher, you're looking at a coin worth between $10 and $25. It may not be a fortune, but it's a solid return on a coin you might have gotten as change at the grocery store. But it doesn't stop there. At the very top of the condition scale is something called MS67 and MS68. These are nearly perfect coins, and they are rare. One such coin sold at auction for over $500. And that's just a regular strike. Imagine what happens when you add in a rare mint error. Let's talk about those valuable errors. Some of the most valuable 1989 p quarters are error coins. These include off-center strikes, where the design is noticeably misaligned. Another is the double die error, where parts of the design appear to be doubled. These errors can dramatically increase the value of the coin, sometimes up into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on severity and demand. One known example of an off-center 1989 p quarter sold for nearly $200 online. Another coin with a double die on the obverse fetched close to $1,000. And that's not even counting collector premiums at major coin auctions. Then there are coins that were struck on the wrong planchet. That means the quarter was accidentally minted on a blank meant for a different coin, like a dime or a nickel. These are incredibly rare and can sell for thousands of dollars depending on condition and how obvious the mistake is. So, how can you tell if you have a valuable 1989 p quarter? Here's what to look for. Start with the basics. Check the coin for sharp detail. Look at Washington's hair, the lettering, and the eagle's feathers. If everything is crisp and shiny with no signs of wear, you might have a mint state coin. Next, look for errors. Use a magnifying glass and inspect the date and lettering for signs of doubling. Pay attention to how centered the design is. If it looks off or unbalanced, you might have an off-center strike. And if the coin feels lighter or heavier than usual, or it sounds different when dropped, it might be struck on the wrong planchet. So, what's the current market like in 2025? Right now, demand for vintage U.S. coins is strong, and rare errors or high-grade examples of the 1989 p quarter are selling fast. With inflation and a renewed interest in collecting, even minor errors can fetch serious money. On platforms like eBay and heritage auctions, well-preserved or certified mint state quarters from 1989 with the P mint mark are selling for $50 to $150, while rare errors can hit prices of $300 and beyond. Certified coins from PCGS or NGC are especially popular. If you have a coin you believe is valuable, getting it graded by a reputable service can add credibility and increase its resale value significantly. In conclusion, while the average 1989 p Washington quarter may only be worth a quarter, there are exceptions that could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Whether it's due to condition, an unusual mint error, or rarity, these coins are worth a closer look. So, next time you're going through your change, don't overlook those old quarters. Take the time to inspect them carefully. You never know, you might just strike silver in the form of a rare 1989 p coin. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more coin collecting content. Let us know in the comments if you've found any interesting quarters or other coins recently. Until next time, happy hunting and keep checking that change.